Welcome to the Miss Pursuit podcast, the show that will inspire you to pursue an extraordinary outdoor lifestyle. I'm Carly Brasso, founder and CEO of Miss Pursuit, and we are obsessed with all things outdoors. We're here to help you on your messy and magical journey of getting outside. The tried and true secrets, tips, and tricks for starting, learning, and advancing your skills and passion for the outdoors. Shy away from real talk? Nope, not here. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the awesome of hunting, fishing, guns, archery, and wild game are all what you'll find here. Pull up a seat, get cozy, and be ready to be challenged and motivated while you learn. This is the Miss Pursuit podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Pro-Tracker Archery. Pro-Tracker Archery started with one simple goal: help all bow hunters recover their game. No animal left behind, right? They have innovative products and excellent customer service. Their bad boys FOC arrow sleeve allow for less bow poundage, resulting in more momentum, better accuracy, and deeper penetration. Find them at www.pro-tracker.com. That's www.pro-tracker.com. Okay, we officially have started the Miss Pursuit podcast. We have Gary Christiansen on with us, and we're going to be chatting sighting in your bow. Gary is a longtime outdoorsman. He is an Army veteran, and he is the owner of Pro-Tracker Archery. Gary, what do I need to add?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's start there. Good morning. I'm just glad that I could, have this opportunity and time to meet with you, Carly, and talk a little bit about archery. Archery is it's a family type of a activity, but it's also very calming and actually very enjoyable. It really is.
So what got you into archery? Had you rifle hunted before and then you got into archery, or what's kind of your path?
That's a good question. My cousin, Michael Ferguson, who is actually co-owner with Pro-Tracker, we grew up with hunting with our dads. So whether it was in the fall hunting deer, elk, pheasants, ducks, geese, my grandfather took my father. So my father took myself and Mike's father took him. So, back then we mostly hunted with rifles. I never really got into the bow hunting until, the late 90s. And by doing that, I found a whole different avenue to enjoy the outdoors, because it's not like with a rifle, you can sit, and out west here, it's long ranges. So you're looking out 400 or 500 yards, where with a bow, it's got to be under 100 yards, mostly 50 yards and under, especially when you're older like I am. We want to be a little bit closer.
Okay, so I've got to be totally honest. So I've only rifle hunted. I've been hunting, let's say, about 10 years,
Okay.
and have only used a rifle. So my questions for you are probably going to be very beginner. And I would love for you to guide me, knowing that really I don't know much. And a lot of our audience won't know a ton. We have everyone from super, super beginner to intermediate to advanced. So I would love for you to kind of coax us through the process, knowing that we kind of have everybody listening. I shot my first bow last week, and I loved it. I mean,
It's fun.
I
It's
really
fun.
did. I mean, I was like, I could see myself, because to shoot a rifle, you got to go to the gun range, you got to go out. It's very hard for me to find time to shoot my gun. But I was like, man, I could just be in my backyard, chilling with my bow. It did seem
Absolutely.
relaxing, challenging,
Yes.
but
It
there
can.
is a relaxing component to it.
Well, it is, and you hit on a couple of key things. It's relaxing. You can do it pretty well anywhere. I mean, safety, safety, safety. But if you've got the right backdrop, you've got your targets positioned to where you're not going to bother the neighbors, but you can just walk out there, knock an arrow, and let it fly downrange.
I know. So I may be buying a rifle pretty soon. And hopefully, some of this chat today can help me get started. I have a couple of bruises right on my arm from where my bowstring.
You do. You do. You do. Well, I'm going to stop you and correct you.
Okay.
You're going to buy a bow, not a rifle.
Did I say rifle? See, this is where I'm like so stuck in my head because I'm a rifle girl.
No, you're good. You're good. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant.
So,
well, the thing is,
go ahead. Sorry, Gary.
I apologize. You say you hit your arm a couple times. Hey, this is why we practice. This is why we, glean knowledge from other people so that we can have fun doing these things, but, do it the best we possibly can.
And not get hurt.
There are some people that, and I'm going to talk today, and it's the gospel of archery according to Gary.
Oh.
Now, that doesn't mean that it's perfect, but it works for me.
Perfect.
And so that's pretty well how it's going to be.
So what would you say, when should people get into archery?
Today.
Is there an age? I mean,
it's like anything. The earlier, the better. But it's like, and you've talked to other people, and this is anything in the world or anything in your life. You've got some experts that it works a certain way for them, but it doesn't necessarily work for you. So the easiest and the best way I guess I could explain it to you is start as early as you possibly can, but go in baby steps. If you're always going with, say, my brother to get ice cream, but he always gets chocolate, I don't know what vanilla tastes like. Mm-hmm. So I need to try different things. So I'm not saying that you should only have one person teach you, but glean different things from different people, because you're going to find something that maybe works better for you.
Okay, I like that. That's good advice. Okay, so my first question for you is, what is your advice on choosing the best bow sight for the individual?
Okay, that's also a very good question. Hopefully you live close enough that you're by a reputable archery shop. And what I mean by that is one that, and I'm not going to pick on the big box stores, so I'm not going to give any names, but you want to go into a shop that, they'll embrace you. They'll say, you know what? You ask them a question, they'll give you their answer according to their recommendation. So say they've had a good choice with, say, brand X. Well, you know what? I go to another archery shop and they like brand Z. So what I'm getting at is you need to go and try different ones that are set up on different bows so that you can find out if that works for you, because it's kind of like driving a Ford, Dodge, or a Chevy. Whichever one feels good, that is the one you need to go to, because we're all kind of built in a different way, a different form. And that goes right along with your bows. I'm not going to say that one is better than the other. So when you go to these shops, say I want to shoot a Bowtech, a Hoyt, a Bear, Matthews, you kind of go right through there, because every time you shoot, this one here might feel a little stiff, or this one here feels a little bit this way. Pretty soon you find one, you go, whoa, this is a good one. Well, what brand's this? Well, this one's brand this, and hey, this is the one I like. It's not what's the popular one. And that's what people's got to realize, is there are so many to choose from, and they're all good. It's just that one feels better than the other.
And a good bow shop will let me try.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They want you to buy a bow from them, but you also want to glean their knowledge. And so they'll tell you little tips and to get you started. And they've got a little bow range. They want you to draw back and shoot because they want you to go away with a bow that you like.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's one of the key things is you want one that's going to work for you. You don't want to buy one because your friend and your buddy that says, "Hey, you got to have this one." Well, it doesn't work as well. So that's why it's better to test different arrows and different bows so you get the best performance for you.
Okay. So say someone they've been bow hunting for a long time, they feel real
Mhm.
comfortable, they're pretty advanced. Now, what would you say about choosing the best site and some of those things now that someone has kind of gone through that, they know what they like, then how does it work? Like, is there
Okay.
something more advanced to get them to get a bow hunter better?
Yes, yes. Now you hit on a couple of key things, and those are all good points. They make a couple of different sights. One is a single pin sight, and how that works, it's got one pin that points straight up, and you can adjust it on the side of your sight so that you can shoot at 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, 35 yards, depending. So what you have to do is you have to take a rangefinder, which I think is probably one of the most important things they've ever come up with because it takes out the guesswork on what that range is that you want to shoot. And you can range it. Then on the side, you can adjust it and up or down according to how what that yardage is. Now that's a single pin. The only drawback with that is if you have, say, a nice big whitetail comes in and I'm watching him come in and I range him, he's at 40 yards. Well, I set my pin, so I have to adjust it. So I have to move and adjust my pin. Then he comes in and he's at 30 yards. All right, so do I do a lower it down just a little bit because I'm going to be shooting a little bit high, or do I have time to adjust that?
Mm,
That's the only drawback.
okay.
But what that's the only drawback. The other site is a multiple pin site. So those are already pre-selected at you can start at 10, 20, 30, or 40 yards, depending on how far you want to shoot. Those are already pre-selected. So if I range out there and he's at 30 yards, I know that I can put it right on the 30-yard pin, and I'm fairly confident that that's exactly where I'm going to be shooting.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's helpful.
Mhm.
So, I was about to say, let's totally geek out and talk about how many sight pins are ideal. And now I feel like you've already started covering that. Um, how do you shoot? What is your
I
sight?
shoot multiple pins,
Multiple
and the
pins.
only reason is it's kind of like what I grew up with and what I got used to. So it's habit. It's habit. I feel more comfortable, especially when I live here in Utah, and so we're shooting long ranges. But I can go to Texas, and I can use those multiple pins. So I'm in a shooting elevated blind, and I know where the feeder is. I know what my yardages are, and I can just I don't have to worry about
Hmm.
it. And I'm not saying that mine's better than the others because I've got a good friends that shoot the single pin, and they love it. They love it. It's just that when the adrenaline's running and I'm getting excited,
Hmm.
that's one less thing for Gary to have to worry about to adjust. Now, that's just according to Gary.
Life according to Gary.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just make sure I understand this. We have single pins
Yes.
and multiple pins.
Exactly.
Are there any other options for a bow hunter, or those are kind of the two main ones?
And now I'm talking about compound bow. So
Yes.
yes, that's pretty well the limits on what those are. Now,
Okay.
if you shoot a long bow or a recurve, then you have to know what your ranges are, and it's a whole different ball game. But we're just going to be talking about compound bows today.
Yeah, I don't think we're quite ready
No,
for
we're not. We're not.
okay, another question, a thumb release. Are there pros and cons to a thumb release versus other aids in other releases?
That goes back to the same kind of an answer. It just depends on what you're doing. The thumb releases that you put it in your hand. It's like pulling back on a piece of metal. So it's not hooked to your wrist. What it is just your fingers. And, a lot of people, they can pull this way, they can pull sideways, or they even pull back this way. It's just whichever way they feel comfortable and what they get used to. And I'm going to interject and throw something out. It's practice. You have to practice so you feel comfortable with whichever one you use. The one I use it's a wrist. So it's wrapped around my wrist. I pull with my wrist and I adjust and shoot with my fingers. So I'm not having to worry about pulling with just a regular thumb release.
Okay. So would you say maybe beginners should start with the wrist?
I think they should start with a wrist one.
Okay.
And then eventually go to that. And the reason is they can be pricey. The wrist ones are the probably the most economical to start with. It's like, don't buy the most expensive because it might not really work the way you want. Work your way up, save your money.
Okay, that's good.
And then go to an archery shop and try it. Okay. They'll let you try different ones to see if it works for you.
So last week when I was trying the bow for the first time ever, I'm so proud of myself, Gary, that we had the wrist. Yes. What's the technical term? A wrist release?
It's I believe it is called a wrist release.
Wrist release. Uh-huh. Okay. And I like that. That just felt good, but it was my only time, ever doing it. But it felt normal to me. Okay. What does it mean to tune your bow?
That's an excellent question, in that it's like anything. You want to have your equipment running on all cylinders. You don't want something to be off. And so by tuning your bow, you're going to get the maximum performance and you're going to have less error. You're going to have less problems when you do go out to shoot, whether you're target practicing or whether you're hunting. So tune your bow. The easiest way to do that is, and this might be a little bit, maybe a little bit complicated, but it's a good place to start, is they paper tune. Paper tune your arrows. And what that means is you can go to an archery shop and they've got a roll of paper. It hangs down. It's only about like 5 yards, but you'll shoot through that and they can tell by which way the tear is. So the fletchings on your arrows will leave kind of like a Y. If it's leaning one way or the other, you'll have more of a tear on, say, the right instead of on the left where the fletches are causing the hole. So they know that they've either got to slide your rest over or back. It's just back and forth. So you're getting it so it's shooting the same way. If you don't have that, an easy way to do that is on your target, put a T laying to the side. So it's horizontal with a T going vertical onto the right. And it's easy to shoot your arrows into that to find out if your bow is correctly shooting the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to have that T on there. I'll go back 10 yards and let's shoot 5 arrows. So before you shoot the 5 arrows, take a marker and on the fletch, put 1. On the next arrow, put 2. So forth till you get 5 or 6. It doesn't matter. And then go back 10 yards and put your pin on the horizontal tape. Shoot the 5. Now, more than likely, it's going to be lower or higher, depending on where it's at, but it should be in a line. Then you know which way you have to adjust your pin. In adjusting your pins and the way the arrow moves, always remember, chase your arrow. So if it's shooting high, you raise your sight high. In your mind, you think you need to lower it because you want to lower your arrows. But no, you raise your pins to even up to where it's hitting where those arrows are. So shoot your group, make your adjustment, shoot again. So now we're just doing the horizontal. Once we get it onto that line, now we need to move it so that we know on the vertical.
Okay.
Do the same thing. Start at 1, 2, work your way down, and you'll find that if it's shooting more left or right, then you can adjust it. Now you're going to be on.
Cool.
Sometimes shooting an X, it's just a little bit too complicated. It's easier to shoot them in a line on that tee so that you're going to get more of a consistent grouping.
That makes sense. I like the T. I like the
Mm-hmm.
T. Okay, so now I've paper tuned my arrows.
Yes.
What's the next step? Okay, yeah, I'm all tuned up.
Okay. On your bow, and maybe I jumped a little bit, but the paper tune is just to make sure you've got it so it's your arrow shooting straight. It's not coming out, kind of zigzaggy. You want it to where it's when it leaves the bow, it's shooting right directly straight forward. By adjusting those pins, now you're going to get to where you're going to be shooting a group. Form is very, very important on shooting your bow. If you don't feel comfortable in a stance when you pull that bow back, you could be wiggling off a lot like this, and it's really hard to hold your group. So you need to work on your form. Right now, the important thing, or I should say the popular thing, is people want to shoot out there as far as they possibly can. So, I'm going to shoot, say, 80 yards. Well, that's great, but you really should get confident in your lower ranges and then work your way out. So start at your lower ranges, get your form, and on most both sites there will be a level. And what that is, it's a bubble level, a water level. You can see a little bubble in there. And if it's leaning one way, it goes up. If it comes back, it goes the other way. And there'll be a little mark. Kind of get it centered to where you've got it level and you're holding your bow. Even though you pull it back and you've got the knock point that's touching your nose and everything is right, if your bow is leaning one way or the other, it will shoot and not hit the point of impact that you think you've got, because you're looking through the pin, but you got to make sure that bow is straight up and down.
Straight. Yeah, I had shot, 40 arrows. And then I was like, hey, what's this little level right here? It's like that. Oh, let's pay attention to that. So, okay, that's great. Okay, I want to talk FOC.
Yes.
I think FOC is kind of more for advanced bow hunters who really kind of know their jam, but I may be wrong about that. But can you tell me FOC, our front of center, what is it? When do we use it? Why should archers use it?
Okay.
Give me the scoop, Gary.
FOC is actually very important for every archer. And you've got to think about this. If I've got a string and I take the string and I try to throw it, it's not going to go very far and it's going to be erratic. But if I tie a little weight around it, so let's say I take a little washer, it's got a hole in it, I tie the string around it. Now I throw that string is going to follow where that washer is. And that's important in bow hunting, in that on your arrow you put a broadhead to go hunting or a fill tip for practice. And that comes in generally 75, sometimes 80, 100, 125, even 150. And those pull that arrow and help it fly more correctly. But by adding more weight, because the hunters are finding, and this works very well, especially with beginners or people who don't pull that much weight back. The more weight that your arrow can handle on that FOC, front of center, that will help that arrow fly more accurate, have more momentum, so it goes in farther, and it quiets your bow down. So momentum, accuracy, and the penetration to when it hits, it goes in farther. So your lesser bows will still have the kill zone when they go hunting, shooting an animal.
Okay. So I'm going to be very transparent with you. I have heard through some, Reddit threads and some different places that bow hunters get a little weird about adding FOC or adding weight. Is that Is that true, or would you say no? Any real bow hunter understands the importance. Tell me what you would say to someone who's like, yeah, I don't know, that's a little not what a real bow hunter would do.
Well, if actually the company that I own, we actually make a FOC product. It's to add weight. And to answer that question, most of the time when I talk to people, it's education. They want to know, hey, because all of my buddies shoot the same bow and the same arrows and the same broadheads are going to get the same result. And with the added weight, it's like putting a supercharger. Let's just talk about that. They're finding that they put more weight on the arrow, that it has that more of a kick. So the more the penetration. Yes, it will slow your arrow down, but it's just like, say, in your driveway. I've got a tennis ball and I've got a bowling ball, and I let them roll down the hill, down my driveway. Which is easier to stop, the tennis ball or the bowling ball? Even though they're going the same speed, that's the same thing with an arrow. It might go slower, but when it hits a lot harder and causes the damage that you want it to do with that broadhead. So it just, it's mostly educational, and they're coming back around. They're finding, because they're shooting these faster bows and lighter arrows, that they need to add more weight in order to improve the accuracy and the penetration.
Okay, Gary, I'm going to ask you again. I am
Yes.
beginner. I might not know everything
I
I'm
like
talking
this.
about, which is the point, though. I want to ask questions that some other person listening is like, blah, blah. Um,
Right.
but so if, let's say, correct me if I'm not saying this right, but
Okay.
let's say I know my draw weight or whatever
Mm-hmm.
is, let's say 35, 40 pounds, right? So
Right.
I'm kind of starting out pretty light. I know that's my draw weight. Um, but I'm having a hard time. So, you practice at 10 yards, you practice at 20 yards. I'm having a hard time getting my arrow to 20 yards. Like, am I talking about this right? So if I maybe added a little bit of weight on my arrow, I'd be able, no, because that would be opposite almost, huh?
Right. Right. I think I know where you're going. What it is um, bows are calibrated to shoot different weights. So let's start with round numbers. I always like round numbers. So it shoots, uh, especially with youth, 30 pound, uh, 40 pound, 50 pound. But you can also go 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Now, in your case, where you're just shooting, the, the biggest thing is you don't want to injure yourself. These muscles have not been used to shooting a bow. So when you said you shot 40 arrows, that's a lot of arrows. Did you feel any discomfort or a little bit, in your muscles?
Yeah, you would definitely, after a few arrows, it was like, okay, all right. Like, and you could, I could start seeing my hands and everything getting tired. And it was like, okay,
Exactly.
I need a minute because this is, you would think just holding a bow and you're fine. It uses muscles that you don't know you had.
It really does. But this comes back to form and practice. You have to be able to space your feet apart, turn sideways, pull it back, but you don't want to say, okay, I want to shoot a 60-pound bow, but I'm having really a struggle getting it to break to get to that 60 pounds. Start at, say, 50 pounds. And if it pulls back fairly easily, that doesn't matter. What you want to do is you're going to get those muscles to where they're starting to build up. I can go 50, say, this month. Another month, I can go to, say, 52, but just keep shooting. You don't want to push yourself to where you're going to injure, because then you got to start over.
Right.
So, shoot, say, 20 arrows today. Tomorrow, shoot 25 arrows. If it feels a little bit tight, your shoulders don't feel good, then go back to 20 arrows. You just keep doing that till you build up the muscles, then slowly raise the poundage of your bow. They're adjustable.
Cool.
So you can do that. That's the easiest way to not cause a problem to where you hurt yourself or you're shooting incorrectly to compensate for that extra weight that you think you need. Weight is good, but it's not always the ultimate thing. That's
But
where
form is better.
it is. It's
Okay.
form. Get your form down and get it to where you feel comfortable pulling those weights, and then slowly raise them up.
Build up. Okay, this was super helpful. I'm very excited about this because I do feel like you spoke to me where I can understand things. But I know you also went a little outside of my box, which is
Right.
great too, Um, this was really good. Okay, I've got one or two last questions for you. You are leaving your house. You can only take one or two things with you. What are you taking with you, Gary?
My glasses,
Oh.
my shoes, and my cell phone.
Okay, there you go. You don't want to be walking around barefoot all over the
You
place?
know what? Gary's got soft feet for some reason. I like to have my shoes on, so I don't go barefoot.
Do you shoot your bow with your glasses on?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not. I take my glasses off. I feel more confident looking through that peep
Pin.
because I have transitions and my looking through. I just don't like doing that. So I have them hanging down around my neck, and then if I'm just sitting in the blind or in the tree stand and I'm just looking around, put my glasses on, but I take them off to shoot.
Okay, cool. And then what's one or two of your favorite products right now for in the outdoor industry, like your
Okay,
outdoor products?
okay. I think anything to do with archery, you have to have a rangefinder.
Okay.
That simplifies what that distance is so that you're not guessing. Before, when the rangefinders really come out, you would go out and measure and say, okay, I'm going to go to this tree. That's about 35 yards. Okay, this rock over here is at 40 yards. So if the animal ever came through, then I would know that, okay, that rock's 40, this tree is at 30. Now I can range, and it also occupies your time. It keeps you busy. Like, okay, I can see what that one is. I can see what this is. So a rangefinder.
Okay.
Then another thing is your clothing. You know, this is debatable because there's been a lot of animals shot without any clothing that is camouflaged. But I think if you've got something just to break up the background because they're smart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, haven't lived that long being dumb. So they're very smart. So camouflage, your rangefinder, and then I think one thing that I think people tend to not really worry about is you got to be healthy, and you got to work on your core so that when you go and hunt or you go and hike, that you can get in and get out. So exercise. It's just like practicing with your bow. Exercise. If you're going to go draw a moose tag and it's going to be really tough, the guy doesn't want to have to try to get you out too. You've got to make sure that you can get yourself out.
Just pack me on your back, take me out of the canyon.
Exactly. Because when you get those animals down, it's dead weight on the ground.
Awesome. Okay, Gary, thank you so much. You shared so much, sighting in your bow, tuning your bow, FOC. I really enjoyed it. And I really appreciate you talking to me and our audience.
Well, I appreciate it. I enjoyed talking to you today. And, like I say, it's a gospel according to Gary. And you can pick and choose because there's a lot of good products out there and there's a lot of good hunters. But
well, I think to just kind of summarize what you said, it's really use and abuse that bow shop close to you. Go to specialty place, let them help you. Try different things, try different bows, try different sights, try different arrows. Try it all and see what's best for you, not what's cool on Instagram. And let those guys who are amazing sit there and work with you and just try new things to see what works for you.
They do want to help you.
Cool. All right, Gary. Well, thank you so much, and we'll
You're
be
welcome.
in touch. Awesome. All right, bye.
Thank you.
Today's episode is brought to you by Pro-Tracker Archery. Pro-Tracker Archery started with one simple goal: help all bow hunters recover their game. No animal left behind, right? They have innovative products and excellent customer service. Their bad boys, FOC arrow sleeve, allow for less bow poundage, resulting in more momentum, better accuracy, and deeper penetration. Find them at www.pro-tracker.com. That's www.pro-tracker.com.